Today, we're going to break down why you're not closing sales calls like you know you can be, like you know you should be. You're letting people who you know you can help slip through the cracks. You're not able to help them. And now they go off wondering, trying to figure it out on their own, having to think about it. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? So today, we're going to break down my 3-story sales framework, how I use it to sign high-ticket clients for my offer every single week, multiple times a week, to make tens of thousands of dollars in my coaching business, okay? And it's the same exact framework I used back when I was fitness coaching and mindset coaching. So it doesn't really matter what niche you're in. These are the principles and the general guidelines that you want to follow when closing deals. Now, here's one misconception we can go ahead and get right out of the way. You don't need a script. You don't see me up here with exact words of what to say. No, everything I'm going to break down for you today is going to be frameworks, principles, keys, things to keep in mind, but not what to say. Because you'll know what to say when you adopt the right mindset when it comes to sales, all right? So let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing, right here under keys, I have 3 very important keys. The first one is abundance. Everyone can tell when you're desperate for a sale. You can tell when you're desperate for a sale. And I used to do door-to-door sales, and a big thing in door-to-door sales was when you're going and knocking doors in the heat, it's difficult, people are cursing you out, whatever. There comes a point where you feel like quitting, but you don't quit, but now you keep knocking and you feel like you need a sale. If you feel like you need a sale when you get on a sales call, it's going to go to shit because you're too desperate for them to buy. Nobody wants to buy from someone who's desperate, just like you don't want to. So how do we reframe ourselves into a state of abundance? Abundance comes from the way you think. Before I get on a call, if I ever feel myself feeling like I need the sale, then what I'll do is I'll repeat to myself, I have some client testimonials. So I'll watch the client testimonials, or I'll repeat to myself affirmations. I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I promise you guys, if you repeat to yourself affirmations, play some good music, get yourself in a good headspace before you get into a call, it'll make the world of a difference. Okay? Do not overhype it in your own head. Think of it like this. If you had 10 calls a day every single day, and you're 1 week into 10 calls a day every day, how are you going to treat every call, right? Whereas you, who's probably watching this right now, who's a bit newer, who doesn't have 10 calls a day, you have maybe 1 to 5 calls a week. Each call is a big deal to you. You know, if you even have 1 to 5 a week, maybe you go weeks without a call. So each call is a big deal. So you work it up in your head and you think, I need to close this person. I need to close this person. Think to yourself, if I was having multiple calls a day, every day, how important would this call be? It would be important to help them, but it wouldn't be such a big event in my own mind, causing me to think I need to close them. Because who knows when the next time I'm going to have a sales appointment is, right? So how do you switch into that? Just remember, guys, stay in abundance by thinking to yourself positive thoughts and affirm to yourself that you're fine whether they buy or they don't buy, okay? This is very important. Guys, I want to say 100%, but I'll just say 95% of sales is all between your 2 ears. Okay, I did door-to-door sales for 3 years. Trust me, it's all between the 2 ears. So the first thing is show up in a state of abundance. After that, it's super important you show up as a leader. Now, what does that mean? The call isn't always going to be comfortable. Okay, you're not hopping on the call to be their best friend. You're there to be a leader. And leadership requires holding people accountable to what they say they want. And that's often, or a lot of times, not easy. And it's not very comfortable. And the better a leader you are, the more attracted to you your people, your tribe, your avatar will be to you, and the more repelled everyone else will be. Because as a leader, you have to take a stand on what you believe in, and you have to stand on that 10 toes down and make sure that you stay true to that. So what do I mean? If one of your values is taking responsibility for all the things happening in your life, and you get on a call with someone, and they tell you all these things that are happening that are negative, and you go to close them, and they say, yeah, I think you can help me. But then when you close them, there's fear, and they start delaying it. Well, now you have to remind them of what they said earlier and be a leader and call them out on their BS. Being a leader means calling people out on their BS. You're not there to be liked. You're there to be respected and to show them the path and help them walk the path even when it's not easy. Okay, remember that. You're not there to be a friend. You're there to be a leader. And consequently, a lot of times you'll end up being friends with them down the road. when they join your program and you're helping them and you're getting great results for them. A lot of my clients have turned into friends, okay? The ones that have the highest affinity with me. Next is understanding. Here's why this is so important. A lot of times what happens, most people don't understand how bad of a situation they're in. So why is that? Because we lie to ourselves to make ourselves feel good about the situation we're in. Because if we were to face the reality of the situation we're in, we'd realize we're actually stuck. We actually have no plan to get where we want to go, and we're coasting day after day. And that is not an easy realization to come to. If you can get someone to understand their situation better on the call, you are going to have a lot higher chances of success when it comes time to close them and offer them to join your program, because you've created a lot of pain. Usually people think I want to get on the call so I can understand their situation. That's part of it. The other part that doesn't get talked about is you need to show their situation to them so that way they can understand it. So what does that look like as far as in the call? You can't accept surface level bullshit answers. You need to dig deeper than just the surface level answers that they give you. You need to really understand. And holy crap, it is freaking pouring outside. All right, anyway. So guys, let's go ahead and get into it. So the 3-story framework. The first framework, okay, let's get into this, is where they are, so where they currently are, and how they got there. Okay, both of these are important. So when I say 3-story framework, we're going to have 3 stories. 1, 2, 3. Before we move to the second story, we need to get clear on the first one, which is where they are and how they got there. So now let's introduce this timeline. Okay, here's the current situation, okay? They are on this call with you, and they're hoping they're getting on the call to solve a problem. Whether you know it or not, they're really getting on the call to solve a problem. And they're hoping that you have the sales ability and the leadership ability to get them to move forward to make a change in their life. That's what they're hoping for, deep down. But not everyone's going to tell you that. And not only that, you have to realize people don't get on calls just for information, because if it was that easy, they would Google the information. They get on calls to be sold. Or put in a better way, they get on calls to buy, and it's your job to show them why buying makes sense. So where they are and how they got there. Okay. So here they are on the call with you. Up until they got on the call, they've had this idea in their mind to overcome this problem. So a good question I like to ask just to start the call is, and obviously, by the way, before we get into the 3 stories, you're going to set the frame. So you're going to obviously be the authority figure, break the ice, ask them if they have 30 to 45 minutes for the call. They say yes. Okay, cool. Then you get into it. Okay. So it's cool, bro. So what made you want to hop on the call? I know we talked a little bit in the DMs, but break it down for me, man. Why are we on this call right now? And they're going to tell you they're going to start rambling, give you 5 minutes of an answer, which is good. Take notes, by the way, while they speak, on your laptop right beside the Zoom call. Take notes. And so that way you can use it later and you don't forget. But they're going to start rambling and telling you why they're on the call. If they give you some surface level answer like, bro, I was just looking to get information, or I want to make a change with my fitness, or I want a better mindset. Yeah, you say, but why? Why? Okay, you need to dig deeper on that first question and really start getting them to open up. From there, I have a couple things I want to figure out. However, I'm not sitting there thinking about the next question while they're talking. While they're talking, I'm listening. And if another question comes up that comes out of curiosity about something they said, I'm going to ask that question. I see too many guys just following a script. So they'll ask a question, the prospect will answer. They'll ask the next question in the script, the prospect will answer. Guys, that's not how you go about a sales call. A sales call is a conversation, okay, between you and another human being, and you're leading them to make a decision. So if they give me some sort of answer about where they are right now and how they got there, and it's not clear, remember, I need understanding, but I also need them to understand. So they say, yeah, I've been trying for the last 2 years to get in better shape. So now from past to current, this is 2 years. Okay, I need to understand what has happened in this 2 years. So what have they tried? Have you tried to lose weight? Did something happen? Did an event happen that caused you to decide more recently that you really need to make a change? Was it more gradual? Was it a gradual thing that happened? What has life been like since you haven't made the change, right? What are the consequences you're dealing with? I don't really say consequences, but these are the points I'm trying to get out of them. I'm trying to understand. What have you tried? Was there an event that happened recently that made you want to hop on this call? Was it more gradual? What have been the consequences? So the way I'll just frame it is like, yeah, like what's it been like? How's that made you feel? Why? It's really just questions for understanding, okay? So where they are and how they got there. Not just where they are, oh, I'm stuck in my 9 to 5. Okay, cool, bro. How long have you been stuck? I've been stuck 2 years. Okay, what kind of jobs have you done? Have you thought about trying to create your own online business? Have you thought about trying to lose the weight? Okay, and now what stopped you, right? That's a big thing. What has stopped you from taking action over the last, this is actually very important when you want to understand the first story. Let's say they tried something here, and they tried something here, and they tried something here, and each time they're on the call with you now because each one of these failed. So we got to understand, okay, why did this fail? Why did this fail? Why did this fail? And by the way, guys, don't let them give you an answer that you can't solve. So if they say, oh, it failed because I didn't have the time to do the thing, and that's why all of them failed. Immediately, I'm going to ask, okay, do you have the time to make the change now or no? And they'll usually say, yeah. Or they'll say, nah, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? If you don't know, then what makes you think you're going to succeed this time versus all the other times? Because at the end of the day, we all only have 24 hours in a day, right? They'll say, yeah. So if you only have 24 hours in a day and you're never going to get more than that, is it more about needing more time or allocating your time to your priorities? Oh, allocating your time to your priorities? Okay, is making this transformation and getting this result a priority for you right now? I'm assuming it is because we're on the call. They'll say, yeah. Okay, so are you willing to allocate the time to make this happen this time around? So that way we're not back in the same situation that you've been putting yourself in over the last 2 years. They say, yeah. Okay, perfect. You see, we're trying to get an understanding of what it is that is stopping them, right? So everything about this first part of the call is figuring out where they currently are and what brought them there, okay? So what have they tried? All these things, okay? What's stopping them? Then once we have a good understanding of this, okay, another question I like to ask is, have you worked with a coach before? You know, they'll usually tell you that when they say they've tried. And what they'll tell you here, when they tell you the things that have been stopping them, they're giving you the things they want in your program. If they say lack of discipline has been stopping them from reaching their fitness goals, then when you talk about, then you're going to ask, what do you mean lack of discipline? Like, what do you mean exactly? Oh, like I know I need to eat the clean foods, but then after 2 days, I'll start craving a cheeseburger. I'll go eat the cheeseburger, then I'll binge. Okay, when you want to take note of that, because when we get to story 3, that's going to be important. All right, story 2. Now, where they want to go and why. Okay, where do they want to go and why do they want to get there? So now we're on this call, right? From this call, there's 2 things that could happen. They continue to go down where they're going and they're going to end up on the same timeline and get the same results here in the future. Okay? We need to get them to understand, and we need to understand where it is they want to go. So here's the desired situation, right? This is what they actually want. This is where they want the body, they want the girl, whatever it is. And remember, don't take surface level answers. Get deeper. Really understand what it is they want on an emotional level, on a physical level, and how that's going to impact every aspect of their life. So once we understand what they want, and we're getting deeper on this by asking questions like, where do you want to be in 3 to 4 months? Why do you want that? How will this affect other areas of your life? What would it be like? Like, what's the first thing you would do if you had a 6-pack? Or if I put $10,000 in your bank account right now, would you quit your job? Like, what would you do? So we get clear on where they want to go. But now the last thing I ask them in this phase is, okay, cool. So I understand where you are and what you've tried and where you want to go. If things don't change, where are you going to end up? Like, what's going to happen? We want to get them to understand that this path that they're walking to the current future they're stepping into is not where they want to be. This is not where they want to be. We need to get them to understand that if they keep walking this path, they will continue to feel the same pain. So how do you get someone to understand that? It's all about asking the right questions. Do you think you can get here where you want to go doing what you're currently doing? No. They need to tell you no. Because they can't. If they could have already got where they wanted to go without help, then they would have already done it. The truth is, most people need help to get where they want to go, especially if they want to shorten the time frame. They need your help. You need to understand they need your help. That's why they're on the call. So you need to get them to understand. Most people don't think about this because it's painful to think about what's going to happen if I don't change. Well, you're going to end up with the same situation you're in, right? Yeah, you get them to understand that. Now, once you figure out where they are and what they tried and what's kind of the pain they're dealing with, where they want to go, you understand what's stopping them from getting there, and also what's going to happen if they keep going down the same path. And all these things I'm talking about, you want to get deep on, and now you've gotten deep and you have a good understanding. We go into the third story, which is your unique way. So what do I mean by this? When you explain your program, you need to explain it in a way that's different from things they've probably already tried, that they told you they already tried. So if you're a fitness coach and they tell you how they tried keto and they hated it, are you going to be talking about keto? No. If what you sell is keto, okay, you need to somehow position yourself differently than what they've tried, or explain why your program is going to get them results if what they tried in the past wasn't. Maybe they hired another coach and they said, oh yeah, my other coach didn't really hold me accountable. So now when we go into your unique way of helping them, which is this new path, we're trying to show them this new path that they can walk down if they follow our lead, right? So this is where they're headed, down this way. We need to say, no, right now we need to make a decision to go here, to where you want to go. And the way you're going to do that is with I'm going to put method right here. With my method, I'll get you here. Okay? So now here's where we do most of the talking. However, even though our mouth is the one going here, we're taking what they said here and what they said here, and we're implementing both of those into our unique way. So they said, yeah, I failed 2 times in the past when getting in shape, because both times I didn't have the time to go grocery shopping, and so I just ended up eating McDonald's and I just gave up on the diet. Let's say they told you that. When you explain your unique method, you're not gonna just tell the features. You're going to tell them the pains the features deal with and the benefits of it. So what you're going to say is, yeah, bro, I have actually a ton of good resources for you. One of them is a complete PDF guide on how to eat food out when you don't have time to meal prep. So that way, when you're busy throughout your day, like you told me you were because of your job, and you didn't have time to meal prep in the morning and you have to go eat out, instead of doing what you did in the past where you go out and you eat some junk food that tastes good and then fall off the diet for a week, you can look at the PDF that I have exactly for you, pick something from there so you can still eat out, still hit your protein, and still get the amount of calories you need in, and stay on your diet. So that way you see consistent results even on the days where you don't have the time to meal prep. So you see how I took what they said here, and let's say they told us that they really want to be shredded by the summertime so they can go to the beach with their wife and kids, or they can go to the beach and show off with the girls, whatever. So after I explained the pain, okay, you don't have time to meal prep, and what we do, which is the feature, which is I have a PDF guide for you on how to eat out and still hit all your macros. Then you explain the benefit, which is that way you can go to the beach this summer, and because you ate right, even when you didn't have time to meal prep, you'll still have the 6-pack, and your wife would still be, or your girlfriend would still be looking at you with the utmost admiration, which is what they said they wanted, or whatever. We're using our method as the way to close the gap between where they are and where they want to go. Okay, so even though we're doing the talking, we're really just taking what they said. They're still the author of the story. They are definitely the author in 1 and 2 where we're guiding them. But even in 3, they are the author, and we're just taking what they said and we're regurgitating it back to them, but positioning our program as the way to get them to where they want to go. Okay, and we need to get them to understanding that the path they're walking on is going to lead them to pain if they continue how they are, and the path that we're presenting to them will get them to where they want to go. If we can convince them of that thing, and by the way, don't try to sell people who you can't actually help. side note. Okay. But if we can get the prospect to understand that they need our method to get results, then they will hire us. Okay. Well, then they're sold. Now it comes to, okay, how do we overcome objections? Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to overcome every single objection, but what I am going to do is give you a framework, okay? Anytime you get an objection, it's usually because of fear or lack of money, okay? And usually even the lack of money ones are a fear. They can be resourceful and find a way to get the money. So here's how you overcome fear. When they get close to buying, they're having to step into the version of themselves that acts how the person who gets these results acts, right? So if they want to get in shape, they need to hire a coach. The person who's in shape works with a coach. They are obviously not in shape. So for the past 2 years where they've been trying to get in shape, but they haven't hired a coach and followed through on it, they've been acting for the last 2 years as the person who's fat. Now, all of a sudden on this call, you're telling them you need to change the way you act to act like the person who's fit, because the person who's fit is going to buy. Anytime you're asking someone to change their identity about themselves, they're going to approach a terror barrier. So what is a terror barrier? Guys, we get so comfortable living the life that we're currently living that what happens is we get put into this trap of complacency, right? So right here is the trap of complacency, okay? We'll call them steps. This is complacency, right? This is also known as bondage. Okay? So what bondage is you're stuck in the old mindset. Then what happens is a new idea gets put into your brain, okay? We'll call this idea. So this idea is, hey, maybe I should get in better shape. Okay? Then what happens, but they don't actually take any action. They just think of it. It's just an idea. So here they're fat. Here they think, oh, maybe I should get in shape. Then what happens is step 3, they take some action to actually make this idea become real. So this is the call that they have with you. Or like getting on calls, YouTubing, how to make a change, whatever. But they're still in step 3. And these 3 steps are it's actually 4 steps. I'm about to go into the next one. But these are the 4 steps to overcome a terror barrier, which is stepping into a new identity, which is what you're trying to get them, the prospect, to do. So, but all 3 of these are still in the old identity. So how do you get them to step into the new identity? It's to get them from stage 3, to stage 4, which is freedom from the old identity and into the new one. However, before they can get from 3 all the way to freedom, there's a massive wall here. And this wall is a terror barrier, okay? If you want to get them from taking some action on the idea to freedom, you have to get them to understand that there's a terror barrier here. You're going to do something that's uncomfortable that you haven't done before, but it's going to be the reason you get the results you want. What happens is most people, anyone who gets on the phone with you, who you don't close, who thinks that you can help them and who you believe you can help, who needs your service, but they don't close, they hit the terror barrier, which is, by the way, that happens when you tell them the price and you tell them it's time to move forward. And what they do is they go back into their old bondage, which is their old way of thinking, which is the procrastinating, thinking about it, indecisive, hesitation. Even though they want to get to freedom, they will fall back into bondage because this terror barrier is a wall of terror, aka fear. And fear is only created in their own mind. It's created in this old identity of them being, who they are that's got them to their current situation. So why do I bring this all up? You need to understand that this is why people won't buy, even if they believe that you can help them. This is why they start giving you objections. Because when it's time to take action, past just getting on a call and invest and act as if they're the person who gets the results they want, which is hiring you to help them and using your method to get them to where they said they wanted to go, they're going to bounce back. So what you have to do is get them to step in to where they want to be. So how do you do that? When they tell you things like, I need to think about it, or I need time, or stuff like this, and you know it's just really fear trying to bring them back into their old identity, you need to remind them of what they told you here and here. Yeah, I get it. You want to think about it, but aren't we on this call right now because you spent the last 2 years thinking about making a change and not actually acting? Yeah, but blah, blah, blah. Okay, but don't you actually want your girl to be proud of the man that's with her at the beach? Yeah. So they're going to tell you these things. Didn't you tell me that you were committed to making a change right now? I did tell you that, but blah, blah, blah. So really, the quick summary of how to overcome objections is you need to get them past this wall of fear by holding them accountable to this higher version of themselves that they said they wanted to be, and helping them understand that if they continue to think like this old version of themselves, they're going to end up at this future, which is full of pain. Okay? You need to show them that if you want to step into this fit identity, then you need to, at this moment, shift from this timeline that you're on to this new timeline to get your desired state. And how do you do that? You repeat back to them what they told you in story 1 and 2. So this is how you overcome objections. And let me tell you guys something. Remember, one of the first keys up here was leadership. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be easy, but it has to be done. Okay, guys? So a couple of tips: be face-to-face on the call. Make sure you record the call so that way you can go back. So if it's Zoom, download Fathom, use Fathom to record the call so you can go back and watch it and get better. Send them a VSL to pre-sell them. So before the call, send them a video talking about you and your program and why they should hire, or why you're credible. Make sure you confirm the call beforehand. Okay, so that way they show up. And lastly, don't send Calendly booking links. Get the call scheduled and get their phone number all through the Instagram DMs. All right, these little tips right here are just real quick. They're going to help you. Just make sure you do them. Okay, trust me. You want the least amount of resistance possible when it comes to them hiring you. All right, guys. So that's everything. That's the 3-story sales framework. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'll do more and more videos. I could literally break down each one of these phases into its own 30-minute video, but this is a good overview of sales, how to hold people accountable, how to get them past this terror barrier and step into the new identity. And if you want any more videos like this, or you have any topics, comment them down below. And lastly, if you want to speak to me one-on-one about starting and scaling your online coaching business finally and getting clients, then book a call to speak with me down below. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video.